Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I am so excited about today's topic. We are going to talk all about emotions. And why I'm so excited is because if there is one skill set that you will want to master in this lifetime, it will be emotions. Emotions are literally the bridge between our core self, our spiritual self, to this physical world. It is a communication gauge, it's an understanding of self. There's so much brilliance in our emotions. And for so long, for me, I was scared of them, I ignored them, or it felt overwhelming. And to be fair and to be completely honest, the more you wake up and the more you turn on your gifts, the more sensitive you're going to become because you're picking up more information. That information is going to be backed by a ton of emotions, good and bad. Everything in this world is created by our emotions and thought. And we're going to break down how this works so you can understand how everything, good and bad, is getting either destroyed or built based on our control of our emotions. And so I've said this many times that my intuition is a skill that I would never give up for a million years for the most amount of money, because it is an ability to get through life with such understanding of the right path. But your intuition is only as good as your emotional mastery because they go hand in hand. If you are too emotional, you will not be able to hear clearly what route to go, and your emotions will hijack so much. And then on top of it, your emotions are going to be creating situations and circumstances all around you that would wreak havoc if you don't understand what you're feeling. So let's dive into it. We're going to talk all about the step-by-step process of what's going on when you have a thought, an emotion, and the experience you have in life. So let's dive into it. Let's start from the very beginning. Now, we have talked that this is an inside-out world. We have talked that everything that you're experiencing outside of you is because of something going on inside. And this is science. Everything is energy. So if you understand how energy works, you can understand how you are creating your whole life. But we're going to break it down even more. So let's start from that beginning moment. The beginning of a physical thing happening around you is a thought. You will have a thought about something, and then your emotions back it, either good or bad. We have an opinion about that thought, and our emotions will back it. Depending on that emotion, how high it is, will have more amplification. And then that thought, backed by an emotion, gets put on that electromagnetic field, that field that surrounds you, that is a blueprint to matter. So the minute it gets put on the field, which within a second it does, that will create matter. Now you may say, okay, maybe that doesn't happen, but actually on a physical level, it does. The minute you actually have a thought, your brain starts to create new resources for that thought. It breaks down old ones and starts to create and focus on the new thought. That new thought will create new neural pathways in the brain. It starts to actually focus in on building structure around it. Now, good and bad thoughts, structure around it the minute you have it. It's not, oh, I've thought about it for, a year and that's why it's getting created. The second we have a thought, our brain will swing into building resources around that thought. Then again, your emotional state will have an opinion about it, and that creates electricity. So think of your thought as the light, because that's exactly what it is. It's light. And then your emotion creates electricity that pushes out that light. And again, it goes on your electromagnetic field because your mind is now creating that blueprint. The minute it goes on your field, it starts to create matter, right? Every situation and circumstance that you are feeling and experiencing is stemming from that thought. Now, depending on how emotional you are, it will create it very loud or very minimal. But what's dangerous is most of us have no idea what we're feeling. If we don't know what we're feeling, we have no idea what we're creating or how to stop creating the things that we don't want to create. And that was me for so many years. I was so emotional, creating all these situations and circumstances having no idea how to fix them on my own. The minute I understood how to understand my emotions and break it down, I could figure out what I was feeling, shift it, and that would stop the thought from being created, because that thought and that emotion is the same thing that I either have to swing into this resource of creating it, or I stop it and then it swings back to not creating that resource, not creating those variables, which means it gets removed off of my electromagnetic field, which means it gets removed from creating matter. So let's break down an example. We're going to go with the big one. We're going to go with cancer. Cancer is an emotional thought that says, if X, Y, and Z didn't happen, my life would be so much better. This situation is poisoning my entire life. So there was a situation and circumstance that somebody experienced. It could be a boyfriend in middle school. It could be a parent when you were young. And what happens is you say, if this situation didn't happen, my life would be so much better. This situation is poisoning everything. That is the thought. Now your emotions back it. You believe it. You really truly go, if this thing didn't happen, it wouldn't be poisoning my entire life. Now that starts to run on a loop. And every single day, you will feel this subconsciously. And what will happen is you will get a job and you will not get a raise. And what will happen is subconsciously you will say, if X, Y, and Z didn't happen, I would have gotten a raise. It could be that person that got hired. If that person didn't get hired, I would have gotten a raise. You will actually start to repeat the same emotion and it will play out in different situations and circumstances. And this is what is so crazy. A lot of people think, oh, well, that doesn't matter. It happened a long time ago. Well, those 8 areas that we talked about, they are all super important. So let's just say that happened in family. And you're like, it doesn't matter. I'm over it, which you're not. We're really awful at thinking that we're healed from something. But it doesn't matter. I'm just going to focus on my career. Well, the thing is in your career, it's going to show up. It is going to swing in there. So every situation in your career will play out. Well, if this thing didn't happen, my career would be better. If this thing didn't happen, my career would be better. And then it'll swing into your relationships and it'll swing into every single one of those 8 areas, the same emotional thought. And this is why you have repeated lessons and repeated patterns going on. And that one emotion is literally showing up in everything that you're experiencing. But if you were able to go back and figure out that emotion and heal that emotion, then every area in your life is healed. And then inside your brain and your body, the resources shift to something else. And the minute you heal it, it shifts into a positive. And then that positive starts to get created. Emotions are, think of it as just like electricity pushing out a broadcast. If you don't understand what you're feeling, that emotion will get created, and that emotion creates matter. And the matter is going to be triggers and pain and suffering and all of that. So cancer is a physical matter trying to tell you you are emotionally feeling as if some situation or circumstance is poisoning your entire life. And if that didn't happen, your life wouldn't be poisoned by it, which is an imbalanced thought. Because I want you to remember, Source sees everything as perfection, which means we have to embody that same knowing in every nook and cranny of our life. So saying that this thing is poisoning my entire life, we now know because of the law of balance, if you have not listened to that, go back to that episode, that we have to have good and bad in every situation. So obviously this emotion is only seeing the negative. But if we heal it and say, oh, nope, I see how it's actually helping my life, how this thing did not poison my life, we get into a state of this is perfection. I see why this happened. I see why this has given me so much. When we are in a state of perfection, balance, we neutral out and we then start to no longer create that emotional matter. So just know that our goal is to get to a place of seeing everything as perfection. but our emotions have a highly different opinion about it. So we will completely go into a state of feeling an opinion about something. And if we're not in control of that emotion, we are going to create matter that we don't want to feel or experience. But if we can get to a state of balance and peace and seeing something as perfection, which, by the way, is one of the best feelings you will ever feel on this planet. It's something that went like a light bulb went off in me when I realized that most people are looking for dopamine and all these like chemical feelings. And yes, those are good for rewards and whatnot to keep us going. But the feeling of seeing something in perfect balance as perfection, that you wouldn't change it for a million years, that you see the good and the bad in it, that's a feeling that is unlike anything else on this planet, because it is that thousand frequency feeling. It is seeing something so perfect. But the only way to get to that feeling and master that feeling over and over again is emotional mastery, is this feeling of knowing that your emotions are swinging in an imbalanced place. And just to be clear, that is not a negative thing. Our emotions are trying to let us know, hey, there's information here. Look at this, balance this out. Like I said, the more intuitive I've become, the more sensitive I am. But you can't really see it from the external because I use these emotional mastery tools that balance out my emotion to where I see something as perfection. I de-escalate my emotions. I figure out what's going on. I heal it. And then I see it as perfection. And instead of, there's two ways to heal your life. One is to subconsciously do it. So let's say you have this whole thing playing out and you're creating situations and circumstances that you feel like if X, Y, and Z didn't happen, your whole life wouldn't be poisoned. So that's getting played out. At some point, and that's usually cancer, cancer shows up, and then that soul goes through an awakening and starts fighting back. The reason why we have that reflective tool, which again is perfection, is to get you to fight back, to get you to say, you know what, maybe that's incorrect. Because time and time again, when a human is up against the same thing, we just start to fight back and say, maybe that's not true. You know what? No, that thing isn't going to affect my life. That thing isn't going to poison my life anymore. I'm going to release that. And it's a subconscious thing. And then we release it, and then the body heals from cancer, and that emotional pattern disappears. So that is the subconscious way of healing. Now, that sounds like, oh, maybe that's the easy route, but you have to remember that's years in the making, which means during all of those years of creating the cancer in the body, you're experiencing it in relationships, money, mental state. Every little nook and cranny of your life is playing out that emotion. And then on top of it, let's say it takes 12 years to build that emotion to create cancer. So you're talking about 12 years of an emotion destroying your life, and then also 12 years to get there, when realistically you could get it today. And you could get that emotion, heal it, and be done with that pattern and thought today. And then start building your life versus destroying your life with an emotion. For me, the conscious way of living is understanding how this world is built, how to use my body in this world, meaning mastering skill sets within me so that I become the source being that we are. We are all an extension of source, which means you can embody the knowing and the beliefs and the actions of how source would live here. And emotional mastery is that, like I said, source sees everything as perfection. So can we master ourselves to get to a place of seeing everything as perfection? And the answer is 100% yes. But you have to slow it down and understand emotions on a physical, spiritual, neuroscience way. Once you understand those pieces and you build that skill in you, you are now able to take the emotional cues that are going on in your system and around you and stop something from happening. Heal your body, heal your relationship, heal the money that you want to pull in, heal your career, because you are now starting to understand what your body is communicating. And going back to this point that I kind of said earlier is humans are awful at understanding how they're feeling. And that is no one's fault besides a lot of different programs. One, I know this happened to me. I realized this when I was learning emotional mastery, is that there are, most people have a vocabulary of 8 to 10 words. We're sad, we're happy, we're disappointed. We have the iceberg emotion, but that iceberg emotion is not the core emotion that's underneath. And this is the thing about emotions and about our thoughts in our brain. Our brain will not let go of that specific thought if you do not nail it on the head. This happens to me all the time where I'm trying to figure out what it is, and there could be a word difference that I say and it doesn't resonate. But the minute I find the exact wording, my brain releases it. So you could say, I'm so angry, I'm so angry. But underneath anger is if this didn't happen, my life wouldn't be poisoned. This thing is poisoning my entire life. The iceberg emotion is anger. The deep, deep core emotion going on is this situation is poisoning my life. And if it wasn't for this, my life wouldn't be poisoned. It wouldn't be as bad as it is now. Sure, that's anger, but your brain will not let go of it if you don't find this specific thing going on in the specific area. Now, again, if you listen back to the 8 areas, I talk about the area in which you're having a problem in. So cancer is the physical area. It's in your physical body. It is not the area you need to heal, right? We talked about if this was a person that had this in family, it would be in the family area that needs to be healed emotionally so that the physical area of the body gets healed. Now, again, you heal it here, all 8 areas upgrade because that emotion is just replaying everywhere in your life. You're in a loop. You're in a loop pattern. And it's actually very fun to see that loop pattern. And when you see it and you release it, and then you see all the matter start to change, it is so remarkable that you really realize that this world is the most magical place you could possibly live. And you're fully in control of changing your electromagnetic field that creates matter. You are in control of your being. But we have to master skill sets to get there. We can't just go, oh yeah, I'm just going to get really good at my emotions. There are skill sets. There is a way of approaching it to make sure you have every single tool that you need to de-escalate, to understand all of that. So I will mention it now. I do have an emotional mastery course that is launching next week. So keep an eye out for that. If you are not on my list, there should be a link below. You can join the wait list. It changed my life. Because like I said, for me, I had 8 to 10 vocabulary words to understand my emotions. And that's why I could never release anything in me because I was at anger. I wasn't at the core emotion. And I think that comes from a lot of different reasons. We ignore our emotions thinking it's getting in the way versus trying to understand them. We also have so much programming where everyone is like, how are you? And we're feeling so many things. We're like, I'm good. I'm great. I'm good. Thanks. And we are now programming ourselves to think, oh, yeah, I'm good, even though you're underneath screaming your head off, which again should not be a judgment. I really want to make that clear. The more sensitive you are, the more beautiful and tapped in you are to this universe. This is all information. Energy holds information. It holds a blueprint. You're picking up on all of that. You just don't understand how to use all of that information that you're picking up. So I think there's those reasons of why we're not really good at our emotions. It's a complex system, but I will say with emotional mastery, unlike other things like intuition, it's actually quite easy to master if you have the right tools. 6 months tops of using it over and over again, you can actually have it be automatic, where you go through each step and it just automatically happens, which is why when I get a level 10 trigger, I usually you won't see me swing into what I used to do, which was fly off the handle years ago. If you talk to anybody who knew me in my early 20s, oh my Lord, my emotions were on another level. So you won't see that in me anymore because now I understand my emotions. And just to throw this out there, when you understand yourself, people understand you. Sorry, there was a bug. If you understand your emotions, People will understand you because that's the reflection, right? If someone doesn't understand you, that is actually the reflection of you not understanding how you're feeling. And there's something so isolating to be in a world where no one understands what you're saying, no one gets what you're trying to communicate. Certain projects are falling through because the communication bridge is not there. And it's the reflection of you actually going, I don't know how I'm feeling, but I'm feeling something. I just don't understand it. And for so long, I felt like no one understood me. And that was because I did not understand what I was feeling. And what's so cool is the minute you start to understand how you're feeling, you get the reflection of people understanding you, which means you're having a deeper connection with this person and you bond so much deeper because you're seeing yourself at the core now. You are starting to go, oh my God, I understand this part of me and I love this part of me and I'm going to release this pain in me, which means you see yourself at the core, which then other people see you at the core and you are able to share who you are at the core. And it's such a beautiful, vulnerable place to be of saying, this is who I am and I understand myself. So, not that healing cancer isn't a small thing, right? And creating literally everything on this planet comes from what I described in that example, but also just understanding yourself, that goes a long way in just that small reflection of getting the world to understand you. Because also just think about, you could have the most genius thing out there, but if you cannot get them to understand it, it won't go. And that isn't because you're not good at communicating. It's because you don't understand how you feel somewhere else in your life and it's showing up in an area you care about. So emotions, like I said, it is a skill that each and every one of you have the ability to master, understand, and feel as if you are so dialed into yourself, which means you have precision in creating your life. You are now shooting the arrow with the most top of the line skill set versus being blindfolded, spun around, upside down with hail falling on you. Who knows what you're going to get? Now you are in such precision of creating a life that you want that now you're going to be able to get the world and all the experiences that you're wanting at a level 10 instead of creating a level 2 and going, well, why am I getting this crappy partner? Why can't I get my career to go where I want it to go? Well, it's because of the emotions. But now getting in control of your emotions, understanding them, you are going to create a much more precision hit of what you want to create because you're getting all of the imbalanced thoughts out of the way and you're going to step into that source knowing that everything is perfect and that emotional balance of peace, tranquility, and just control and mastery of yourself. Thank you so much for joining. It means the absolute world to me. My goal is to reach as many people as I possibly can, and I cannot do this without you. So please like, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, share this with anyone you feel like it would resonate with. Again, I cannot do this without you, so thank you.